Listen. Now, when you bring that issue, the small issue, what kind of issue? The small issue to the Shamashim elders, they must render quick judgment. Could be a week, could be a couple of weeks, but not a year, not 5 years. You want judgment. You want to have the mind of Yahweh. You want to have the authority of Yahweh, the authority that will bind their decision in heaven, even as it has been bound on earth, or loose that decision in heaven, even as it has been loosed on earth. So you have a right, when you come to the Shamashim, to receive fair, equitable, and quick judgment. Are we on? Not something that's postponed and takes months, but within a reasonable time, the Shamashim are to consult with each other and deliver quick mishpat. Amen?
Amen.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Amen. Now, the job of the elder, here's the difficult part for the elders. Okay, and if Roberto's available, I'd like him to be here when he's available. Please keep an eye out there. So they must only go to the elders. But what is the responsibility of the elders? What are the responsibility of the elders? Number one, to speak with each other. So there's not a one-man opinion, that there always can be 2 or 3 judges and witnesses and render righteous mishpat, judgment, to talk to each other and discern the issues.
Is it major?
That's the key.
Is it non-issue?
Correct. That's the key. So the mishpat of the judge, here is where, that's exactly right, where your responsibility comes in as an elder, okay, is, do I take this issue, do I keep it classified, listen, do I keep it classified as a minor issue, or is this something we should bring to the rabbi? And that's always going to be a difficult decision that the elders have.
Otherwise, the rabbi deals with everything.
Everything. Is this something we should deal with? Is this something we should render judgment, mishpat? Over 50, 100, and thousands in Israel. How many are sleeping? Raise your hand. Or is this a major issue, and we should not sit in mishpat? We should pass this on to the rabbi, take the rubber stamp, classify this as major issue, and let him handle it. So that's going to be the most difficult decision, because some things are borderline. Is it a major problem brewing? Is it a minor problem brewing? Okay? Hello? Is it a major problem, Roberto? Is it a minor problem? See? And if you're not sure, you can consult with Tehillah. Tehillah, you're not sure, and together you've got to either bring quick judgment to the person that's coming to you, and the person, the Talmid, the disciple of Yeshua who's coming to you for righteous mishpat, must live with that mishpat, whether they be bound by it, whether they like the ruling or they don't like the ruling. They must be bound by that ruling as long as that ruling is according to the word of Yahweh and according to Torah. You cannot appeal to the rabbi if you don't like the mishpat brought by the Shamashim. Hello? Hello? As soon as you take that issue and turn it from a non-matter and you've judged it through discernment to be a small matter, you've lost control of the issue. Now you're under the authority, direct authority of the Shamashim, just like Yahweh himself is under the authority of the Shamashim, respecting that mishpat. Because if Yahweh doesn't back up their decision and their judgment, then the whole structure of the renewed covenant, Yisrael, collapses. Okay? So your job is not to go to the person of your choice when you have a problem in the camp brewing with another brother or another sister or another believer. Your job is to go right to the authority structure, whether you're comfortable or not. Are you looking for comfort, or are you looking for righteous vindication and quick judgment? You're looking for solutions. Are we on? If I'm boring you, just raise your hand. I wasn't looking anyway. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So as a Talmid, as an individual Talmid, your challenge is going to be to judge through the gift of discernment, is this a minor issue or a non-issue? If it's a non-issue, who's the judge and the jury? You are. If it's a small issue, you've released that authority for the judge and the jury to become the shamishim, the recognized shamishim. Shamishim, your most difficult job as an elder will be, when do I bother the rabbi and when do I not bother the rabbi? And that's always been your toughest decision. I'm just putting it into words right now to confirm what's been your toughest decision. Am I right? When do we bring this to the rabbi? When don't we bring it? We know there's stealing in the congregation. Someone's coming to us, things are disappearing in the shul. Someone is belittling someone else on a continual basis. Or they're gossiping about the same person. These two people continue to gossip, they backbite, they devour each other. We've rendered mishpat, we've told that person to back off, not to call the other person, and this thing continues, the problem keeps brewing. Not if trouble brews, rather when trouble brews. Not if, when. And the elders have given mishpat in 2 weeks. That's a pretty quick mishpat, 2 weeks. Now what do? This thing is continuing. So your toughest decision and your toughest decision is, when do we bring this to the attention of the rabbi? Hello? And that's where the elders or the shamashim need Yahweh's discernment. That's where you guys need the discernment. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Now we're going to even go further. Is anyone enjoying? Now we're going to go further. If we only did this and practiced this, we wouldn't have issues that had no solution. We still have issues. We still have problems brewing in the camp, but we wouldn't have issues and problems that linger and linger and linger and linger and take 6 months, and then 6 months later, the rabbi and the elders are the last to find out. All right, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. And that happens in this congregation all the time. And it happens, if it happens here, it happens in the Crystal Cathedral, and it happens in First Baptist of Fort Lauderdale 100-fold more times. In other words, the elders are the last to know. Claire knows, Monica knows, Marilyn knows, Melba knows, Kamar knows, but the elders don't know nothing. And when the elders finally find out that a situation's been brewing in the camp, they're shocked. They're the last to know. This is a government, everybody's included. This is a government out of order. That is classic example of divine government gone haywire, out of order. You're out of order, the elders are out of order, the rabbis are out of order, the whole system, and then you've got a church system or a hierarchical pharisaical structure or some other weird religious system.
Kangaroo court.
Thank you. If we don't know the proper channel of authority and we're not willing to follow that, we've got another religious system. And a religious system is so busy being religious, it can't minister to anybody. We come here for ministry. We come here to grow, to understand, to be more faithful, to be more loyal, to have character developed in us and through us, and to have the character and the life and the lifeblood and the Zoe of Yahweh Yeshua flowing through our bones.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
But that's not going to happen unless we are willing to do what Moshe did and give up authority. See, Moshe had to be willing to give up authority, didn't he? And then to establish the 70 Zechenim and the 70 Shamishim, who became the shepherds and the final court of arbitration. Everybody must know their role. And the elders are going to need the same discernment the Talmidim need. The Talmidim are going to need to know, is this a non-matter or is it a small matter? And if it keeps brewing and it's a small matter, I need to bring it to the Shamishim. Shamishim, you can't hold on to it. Listen to me. You can't hold on to the matter. You're going to either have to render judgment or bring it to the rabbi pretty quick. It's wrong for the individual to hold on to a matter, just like it's wrong for the elders to hold on to a matter. The elders cannot hold on to a matter for 6 months and say, we'll decide if we'll see how things go. You're either going to have to return mishpah, render sentence to those who are coming for righteous sentence, or bring it to the rabbi immediately. You cannot sit on it. It has to be a reasonable turnaround time. A person's case cannot get lost on the docket, on your own personal docket. Make sense? When this thing works, it is a charm. It works beautifully. We've had situations where people are living in sin, and I don't know, and people are stealing from each other, and people are cursing each other, and people are angry and hateful toward each other. I don't find out about it till 6 months after the fact. And my shamishim, the elders, they don't find out about it for 4 months after the fact. And you know something? You are the guilty party. Because either A, you didn't bring it to the proper attention of the elders immediately. You took an issue that was a small matter and declared it to be a non-matter. Hello? Or the elders had a small matter that they didn't bring to the rabbi as it was becoming a bigger matter. Am I talking to somebody today? Baruch Hashem Yahweh. The elders must be quick in turn. They must have very little turnaround time. They must either issue a decision and keep it from the rabbi and classify it as a small matter, or they've got to push it up to the rabbi's desk and classify it as a big issue or a great issue or a major issue or something that the rabbi himself should handle. So like Torah teaches, Moshe in this case, or it could be Rabbi Paul or Rabbi George or Rabbi whatever, gets only the harder matters, the greater matters, the weightier matters. Then everything is functioning freely. Are we on?
Yes. Oh.
I know I'm preaching good today. You might as well say something.
Hallelujah.
That's how we function. And when we don't function, the opposite of function is dysfunction. And those who are dysfunctional are not functioning properly in the kingdom. I'm going to go right to Rebbetzin Rivka because I feel good talking to Rebbetzin Rivka. Well, that's nice. Have you spoken to Tehillah, the other woman? How about Roberto? Oh, Roberto's at work. He's too busy. There's always an excuse. So we pick up that little phone tree, and we know we're hurting, we know we're not living right, we know we're manifesting unrighteous behavior, we know we're manifesting a quick tongue and a bad tongue, and an evil speaking, and a bad heart, and unrighteous living. We know we're manifesting some form. You know what righteousness is. You don't need Rabbi Moshe to teach you what righteousness is. You don't need Rabbi Moshe to teach you what's holy and what's unholy. You don't need Rabbi Moshe to teach you what is tahor and tamai. You don't need him to teach you. You let the word of Yahweh declares to you what is tahor and what is tamai. You don't need me. But when you know you're manifesting a pattern of ungodly, unset apart living, the first inclination is to pick up the phone and talk to people that have no ordination and they are not set apart to render judgment. What I'm sharing with you goes against everything you've been trained to do. In preschool, kindergarten, nursery, it's always hang out and talk to the folks you're comfortable with. And in the kingdom of Yahweh, it doesn't work who you're comfortable with. It is who is ordained to give an account to Yahweh on your behalf. And boy, that doesn't sit well with us. That doesn't sit well with us. And then they come another position saying, well, if they're the shepherds, they should know their flock. Really? So in other words, they should know the social security number. They should know what time they take their medicine. They should know when they eat their meals. They should know what time they get up. So then Tehillah and Roberto and Rabbi Moshe should know their sheep, and Rebbetzin Rivka, so much that they should preempt any problems. Before the problem comes up, they should be able to preempt it, and if it does come up, immediately solve it.
The shepherd's not big brother.
But see, that's the other extreme. Okay, the shepherd should know that, yeah, I know my sheep. I know everybody in this room that's coming to this congregation. I know who's loyal, I know who's not. I know who talks behind my back, I know those who don't. I know those who don't like to talk behind my back and catch themselves when they do it and realize that it's wrong. I know every one of you. Not only do I know every one of you, I know through the Spirit those of you who like my wife, those of you who don't like my wife, those of you who like the service, every one of you. And what I don't know, the Spirit tells me. Sorry. Sorry. But I am not going to tackle you in the aisle and say, the Ruach has told me. I'm going to leave you alone. I'm not going to take a matter and turn it into a small matter or a big matter. I'm not going to do it. I got no problems. I'm going to just wait till you trip up and make mistakes, and then we have to minister to you and bring mishpat and bring judgment. But this is wonderful. This is not something to fear. It's something to get out of our own way of life, yes. This is kingdom life.
Not stressful.
Yes, this is kingdom life. You actually have elders and a rabbi who can hear in the Ruach and know things about you that are, see, when someone doesn't come to shul for 5 Shabbats in a row, I know there's sin. The only question I have to ask Yahweh is what the sin is. You think I'm stupid? But I'm not going to go to you and put a finger in your face. I'll wait for you to seek mishpat and go to the elders and try to get this thing straightened out and try to get a solution. Hello? When someone doesn't come to shul and they're a regular member and you don't see them for 5 weeks, hello, there may be a problem. Right? But if it's not an issue for them, it's not an issue for me. I'm not going to make it into an issue. Why? Yahweh has called me to deal with the great and the major issues. Not great as in, the flamboyant issues or the pretty issues or the spectacular issues, the real pain in the tuchus issues. Amen? Okay, Tov. Now, let me deal with another thing. If you understand this, how many are starting to or do understand this? Front row is with me. How many are grasping this thing? If you do it, it's victory, it's healing. Yahweh has not set us up as a camp to hold back the enemy or to neutralize the enemy. We are the head, not the tail. We are the conqueror. We're more than conquerors. I'm persuaded that neither life or death or principalities, powers, things in this world, things in the world to come, nakedness, famine, peril, sword can separate us from the love of Yahweh that is in Messiah Yeshua. If nothing can separate us, that means we are called to overcome these things. Now, that doesn't mean that the road to overcoming is easy. It just means the system is in place for us to overcome. The system is in place. Yeah, but we're just more comfortable with calling her. We like talking to her. Or talking to someone who has a problem and they're not getting any help. They got a problem with dope. They got a problem with gambling. And we figure, well, they're probably more human and they probably can empathize more than the elders and the rabbi because they're struggling. So I think I'll call them. That is stinking thinking. Do you want somebody to talk to, or do you want victory? So you can't choose counselors. I think I'm going to appoint Mary Nina or Yahel. Did I get that right? Yahela. I'm going to appoint Yahela as my counselor. What, are you serious? Not that she doesn't have gifts. Not that she doesn't have abilities and talents. Of course she does. But she's not part of it. Where can you and I pick our counselors? Hello? This is crazy stuff. And all we do is we can get things, yes, I admit, yes, we can get things off our chest, right? Yeah. But is that a solution? If it was a solution, why are we still struggling with the issues that we've been struggling with 7 years ago? Because now we know the way to achieve victory. Not if trouble brews, rather when trouble brews. Next time there's a problem in the camp, how are you going to handle it? Now you know how to handle it. Now you have to handle it that way. If you don't handle it this way, do you know the problem can simmer? You know the problem can get lost in the camp? And I'll talk about that in a few hours, so stay with me. This means, brothers and sisters, if you know of a situation that is unrighteous, that is ungodly, that is not tahor, but rather common or unclean, tamai, if you know of a situation or a behavior or a sin in the camp, listen, my goodness, listen with your spirit. You must tell the elders. It should not come from someone outside the congregation calling the rabbi and informing them of what's happening in the assembly. And that is the cause for a lot of problems that spring up in the assembly, because that person or those persons are friends, and we don't want to get them in trouble. Come on now. Come on now. You're not being their friend. You're being their biggest enemy. Because sin has a ripple effect. It's not just destroying one person's life, it's destroying their family, it's destroying their friendships, it's destroying their relationship with Yahweh. We can't. We need to protect these people. See, and because we mean well, and because we want to walk in what we think is love, okay? We think it's love, okay? So we're not going to tell the elders. We're not going to say anything. Because we know that these persons, or these people that are doing these whatever behaviors, unclean behaviors, may get disciplined. And guess what? It may not always be the rabbi that disciplines them. It may be the elders if it's a small matter. So why not go to the elders and get mishpat and solution and judgment of a small matter? Because if you don't bring it immediately to the attention of the elders and you wait 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or 6 weeks, guess what, sweetheart, darling, honey bunch? You've just made a small matter into a major matter, and now the rabbi has no choice to get involved, and the rabbi is going to come down much heavier than the elders. And then you could accuse him of being unfair and accuse everybody of being unkind and unloving, when if you would have just brought it to the elders, you would have protected those people that were involved in uncleanliness. What better protection? The idea, listen, the idea that you could take a behavior of unclean living, you don't need me, you don't need the elders to understand what unclean, you need Isaiah, read Isaiah. Read Deuteronomy, read Corinthians. Everybody can know what cleanliness and unclean living and righteousness and unrighteousness is all about. You know, and people take the teachings of Yeshua and they twist his word. Well, brother, it says in the word of Yahweh that if you lust on a man, not just women, I'm picking on you women too, I know what I'm talking about. If you lust on a man and lust on a woman, you've committed adultery in your heart. Psst, 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 psst. So the devil goes, oh, really? Look, the word says if you're thinking about adultery or sex or fornication, you've done it in your heart. Just go ahead and do it now, because you've already done it in your heart. See, that's church teaching. We don't teach that here. We don't teach that here. What the devil wants you to think, listen, is that thinking something and doing something is the same thing. You may think something wrong toward my wife, but it's a whole different thing thinking about it and doing it. And the church teaching is, well, you've done it in your heart, you're gone, your history, you might as well just go do it. That is so hellish. It is a license for sin. It is a propagation of sin. It is in a licensing of promiscuity or unclean living. I have many thoughts. That may come as a shock to you. And so do you, because you're sitting in right here. How do I know? You're a being who's human.
Yes,
Now, if I did everything that I'd like to do, if every rabbi or pastor did everything their flesh would like them to do, there wouldn't be any rabbis or pastors. So the devil's job is to tell you that if you're thinking something, you might as well just go do it. That's wrong. That's not what Yeshua said. He was showing how strict the Torah is. If you're thinking bad thoughts or unclean thoughts, it's as if you're doing it, meaning you've fallen short. Not go ahead and do it now, since you thought about it. It's the same thing. He's saying, that's how much you need me. You've already done it in your heart. P.S. That's how much you need me. That's what he's saying. Even if you didn't neigh after your neighbor's wife, if you thought about it in your heart, that shows you need me. That's what he's saying. He's not saying you might as well go do it. Religious idiot. You are a religious idiot. If you believe that bad teaching. Quit while I'm at it. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. I'm going to say something even more shocking. Yeshua was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin.
Right.
He was tempted with homosexuality. He was tempted with drugs. He was tempted with worldliness and carnality. The Word of Yahweh says he was tempted in all points. Which part of all don't you understand? The A or the L? He was tempted in all points, yet without sin. So, according to church theology, if he was tempted and he thought in his heart, he might as well just do it. That is insane. Yeshua didn't just do it. He lived above the temptation. How? How did he live above the temptation? Through the power of the Ruach HaKodesh. The same power that's available for you. And if you're having trouble living above the situation, it's not that you need something different, it's you need more Ruach. Why? Because the Ruach was given to him without measure. So if we're succumbing to the temptation and he overcame the temptation, it's not that we have a different spirit or a different father, for he is our older brother. It is that he's got more of a measure than we have. His glass is full, his temple was full of the living Mayim Chayim, and ours is half empty.
Hallelujah.
The Mayim is the same, the Father is the same, the reward is the same, the destiny is the same. So what's the big deal? You need to live above. He was tempted to be a homosexual, yes. But how did he overcome it? He just let Papa fill it to the brim. That's how we overcome it. Wow, what a mean, forget, what a wonderful Yahweh. The difference between the world and the assembly is they both want to lust. And they both want unclean living, and they both want unrighteous mammon, and they both want unrighteous gain. But it is the assembly of Israel that looks at the temptation, considers the temptation, and says no to the temptation. Amen. Whereas the world does what their body, therefore they are servants and masters, for to whom they are submitted as servants, to him they are master in serving to them. We'll read Romans 6 and you'll understand.
Yes, Romans 6.
Baruch Hashem Yahweh. So they obey the flesh. The flesh talks to us, we tell it take a hike. The flesh talks to the devil's Talmidim. Okay, how high? How far? How much? How far? How quick? How much? Same devil. Same temptation. We say no, they say yes. That's the difference. It's not the thoughts that make us different. It's the fact that we choose cleanliness, we choose righteousness, we choose sanctification. That makes us children of Yahweh.
Hallelujah. Amen.
But in the religious system, oh, you bad boy. You thinking bad thoughts. Oh, you not safe. You not safe. You not safe. You think? Oh, what you think? Go do it. Oh, go do it. I pray you don't bring that religious baggage into your Israelite life. That is religious baggage. There is no difference between the world and the assembly except we say no. Same temptation. Same temptation. Same Satan. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. Baruch Hashem Yahweh.
Amen.
So here's how to take, it's wrong to take a non-issue and turn it into a minor issue. But it's also wrong to take a minor issue and turn it into a major issue. What's the easiest way to take something that's brewing and cause it to break the pot? What is the easiest way to take a minor issue, which can be held under the authority of the Shamashim given to them by Yahweh, and make it something that has to be dealt with in the harshest, swiftest, and most powerful way? Taking a minor issue, not going to the elders, going to other people in the congregation, and you have now on the verge of taking something that could be solved very quickly and healing and solution brought and making it into a major issue. Hello? Are we on? Is anybody with me? You gonna pray about it? This means if you know of a situation of uncleanliness in the camp, you cannot, listen, take notes, you cannot hide it or postpone revealing it to the elders. Not to the rabbi or the rebbitzin, first to the elders who have a chance to judge the matter, to determine if it's a large or a small matter. You as a member of a Talmid of Yeshua cannot decide in the congregation what is small and what is large. You didn't listen. You do not have the authority to decide what is small or large. Your authority ends when you have a non-issue and you make it into an issue, small issue. But once it becomes a small issue, you as a Talmid of Yeshua, do not have that authority to decide if a matter is a small or large issue. Meaning, you cannot and should not decide what is small and large. The obligation of a Talmid who knows there is uncleanliness in the camp, lest it bring forth a ripple effect, their obligation under Torah is to avoid death and judgment on the entire camp. You didn't listen. When you know of a situation of unrighteousness in the camp, you do not have the right to decide if it is a small or a big issue. You don't have that right. You must go to the elders right away, let them decide if it's a small or a big issue. Amen? And your main obligation is to hold back Yahweh's judgment on the entire congregation. Because when we hide a matter or we postpone revealing a matter, the entire congregation is judged. Well, I'm going to be Marilyn's friend, and I'm going to be Yochanan's friend, and I'm going to be Raina's friend. And there's certain things that are happening in their lives, but I don't want to hurt them. I don't want to get them in trouble. I don't want to get them punished. So I will not reveal the matter. You know what you've just done? The sin of Achan. What is the sin of Achan? Turn with me to Joshua chapter 7. And we'll explain the sin of Achan. Protecting a person's reputation or uncleanliness, whether it's thievery, gossip, slander, whatever, protecting unclean behavior in an individual and hiding it in the camp, or just as bad, postponing coming to the elders, okay? What you're doing is you brought condemnation on the entire camp of Israel, on the entire assembly. We'll see it right now. Yehoshua 7, Yehoshua, pardon me, Yehoshua 7 and 20. Yehoshua 7 and 20. So Achan answered Yehoshua and said, before we look up please, before we read these scriptures, what did Achan do? He took the booty that was under the ban that they conquered from the enemy. Amen? And he took some of the goods, the merchandise, the booty, that was under the ban, meaning they shouldn't touch the gold and the silver, the vessels of bronze, whatever. They were not allowed to take any of the booty. Why? Because that stuff was dedicated to what? Pagan. There was a pagan connection. That stuff was dedicated to pagan deities. He was not allowed to take that. No one was allowed to take that stuff and to hide it under the tents of Israel. Okay, the sin of Achan was to take the unclean things. Hello? What kind of things? Unclean things. In this case, it was items, coins, vessels, gold, silver, the spoils of war, and hide it or not reveal it. Turn to your neighbor and say, not reveal it. Let's try it again. Not reveal it. Hide it or not reveal it in and amongst the camp. So if we know of a brother who is not living righteously, Yehoshua, if we know of a brother who's not living righteously, and the sin has been going on for 6 months, and it's affecting 5 other people in the camp, not to mention family, not to mention friends, not to mention parents or children, and there's this ripple effect. There's a ripple effect. People are not stupid. They can figure things out pretty quickly. Okay? And all this stuff is starting to ripple. All right? And then we've got 5 people that already know what's happening, and they're not bringing it to the elders. Hello? If you really love that person and care about that person who's not living clean and not living righteously, by going to the elders, you could prevent this issue from going to the rabbi when it becomes a great issue. Are we on? The further this thing ripples out of control, the more sure it will come to the rabbi. The more sure it will eventually get to the rabbi. You need to go to the elders. They're here to render quick and effective mishpat. If you're living wrong, they'll correct you, they'll render judgment, it'll never get to the rabbi. But if it has already affected a lot of people, if no one goes to the elders for 5 months, if no one goes to the elders for 5 months, by the time a situation comes to the elders, they must, Roberto, Tehila, at that point, you must bring it to me. It's been simmering for 5 months. Worse yet, what happens if the elders are the last to find out, which happens a lot of times? Completely dysfunctional. And brothers and sisters, those who aided and abetted that situation have taken the things that are unclean and hid it in the camp by not being forthright and not revealing.